He wakes before the others, standing alone at the edge of the ridge that overlooks the cove. The sky is still black, but his eyes are on the wind, not the stars. His name isn't spoken often. In his village, a skilled navigator doesn't need to be called. He is known by what he does, not what he is called. Below him, the canoe waits. 10 meters long, single hull, carved from breadfruit, fitted with a lashed outrigger. He supervised every lash, every joint sealed with sap and fiber. He doesn't trust another man's work on this craft, not for the kind of trip they're about to make. It's not a solo journey. Another canoe will follow half a day behind, the council insisted. They say it's for safety. He knows it's about oversight. A younger navigator is leading that second crew, eager to prove himself. That doesn't bother him. What matters is the course, the swell, the crew, and the signs, all of which he controls. The men begin to stir. His crew 6, total, all handpicked, not for strength, but for attention. He only takes those who notice things. A flash in the sky, the wrong wind, the change in bird patterns. These are the things that keep men alive. He checks the sky one more time, then walks down to the beach without a word. No ceremony, no chanting. This is not that kind of departure. They push off before the tide turns. The sea is quiet. The paddles cut without splash. He takes position near the bow, his hand resting on the steering paddle, but he doesn't steer. Yet, he listens. The hull tells him more than the men can. It vibrates differently when the swell hits at the wrong angle. Right now, it hums low and straight. Now that's good. He studies the waterline. There's a second set of waves moving under the surface. Swell from the southeast, crossing the dominant line from the east. This tells him they're still within the influence of the home island's reef shadow. He adjusts the heading a few degrees. By midday, the sea is open. His crew switches, paddling positions. He hasn't taken food or drink. Focus matters more. Behind them, the second canoe is a faint shape on the horizon. They're headed to an island he's visited once, many seasons ago. It's inhabited. Trade partners. They have a new technique for cord binding, and possibly a canoe design shift. But that's not why he's going. A few weeks ago, a log washed up on their beach. Pale wood, unfamiliar grain. Not from any known island. A fisherman from the east said it drifted after a distant storm. He believes that's true. And if it is, it means land, unknown land, lies in that direction. The council wouldn't approve a direct expedition based on driftwood. So this is a layered trip. Trade first. Then a stop at an uninhabited island. From there, maybe more. By evening, the first island rises into view. He feels it before he sees it. The swell changes just slightly, and the air smells thicker. He doesn't say anything. The crew notices soon after. That's how it should be. They land just before dark. Men from the island wait on shore. No tension. These are known people. He recognizes one by the scars on his arm, a cutter, skilled with AD stone. They exchange dried fish for fiber cord. The villagers give them cooked taro and salted eel. His crew eats while he walks the inland path alone. He finds what he's looking for near the stream, terraced plots, smaller than those at home, but better irrigated. The flow is gentle, controlled by woven root barriers. This design could solve the over-soaking problem his own people face after heavy rains. He memorizes it without drawings. When he returns, the second canoe has arrived. The younger navigator is already boasting about the speed of his vessel. He ignores it. What draws his attention is the log strapped to their hull, the same pale. Wood identical in grain. It's one washed up 2 days before they left. That makes 3 pieces now, including the original and one spotted on another island. That night, the wind shifts. He senses it before the others do. The clouds flatten and stretch. A pressure drop. He doesn't say storm, not yet. But he wraps the canoe's lashings himself, tighter than before. They'll sleep here tonight, then leave in the morning. First to the uninhabited island southeast. After that, if signs hold, further. Maybe something no one from his island has seen If not, they return. That's the job. Find, remember, return. Asterisk at first light, both canoes are readied for launch. The wind remains steady, blowing in from the northeast. It's favorable, but not ideal, so direct and sail becomes unreliable. Near reef systems. The navigator inspects the rigging one more time before stepping aboard. No signs of damage. The canoe handled the crossing well. The smaller island behind them falls out of view before midday. The men paddle in coordinated rhythm. The navigator watches how their paddles enter the water. He notices one dragging slightly, corrects with a quiet gesture. The younger crew members have experience, but not depth. That's earned over time. Ahead lies a low, uninhabited island with a shallow reef and a freshwater spring. It's a known place, but rarely visited. Few reasons to go there outside of resupply or driftwood checks. Today, it's the forward point in their planned sweep for more evidence of unknown land. The second canoe follows behind, maintaining a wider berth as they approach the island in the afternoon. The navigator sees the signs first. Reef color changes, cloud patterns shifting at the edge of the horizon. The low-sitting clouds have a green-gray hue underneath them. That coloration often means vegetated landmass below, too distant to be seen but large enough to alter sky reflection. The younger navigator in the second canoe doesn't react to the clouds. He's watching birds instead. It's not wrong. Just limited, they land just before sunset. The island is flat with few trees, but enough cover for overnight shelter. The crew begins scouting immediately. Several find drift debris in the tide line. One piece matches the previous pale wood. Again, not native. Its presence here strengthens the drift theory. This wood isn't traveling randomly. It follows a directional path, likely from a consistent current. That night, they camp near the stream. The navigator uses a smooth shell to scrape markings into a length of bark, not writing but recording, a reminder of the pattern he's tracking. In some Polynesian societies, drift patterns were used to predict island chains. Repeated types of wood, fruit, or even insects arriving from the same direction indicated potential land. In the morning, while checking the beach line again, one of the crew finds something buried in the sand, a partially shaped basalt adze head. This confirms prior human presence.
Likely abandoned
decades ago. The navigator inspects it, judging the quality of the stone. The shaping method matches what's used on the eastern islands. It's consistent with the direction they intend to explore next. The second canoe's crew sets up a fishing net offshore. One of the floats breaks free. It's recovered by a swimmer quickly, but the incident highlights the limits of their current binding fiber. The older navigator makes a note to share the newer fiber method seen on the trade island. It's more attristant, made from processed hour bark soaked and twisted for longer tension retention. He first saw it used near Tonga. Its spread is recent and limited to more central routes. At midday, a decision is made to move again, not homeward. The clouds remain stable, swell predictable. Based on their drift findings and the wind direction, they'll sail on a new heading, southeast, into open water. This choice carries risk. The uninhabited island is the last known stop. Beyond it, there are no confirmed landfalls. But the signs consistent driftwood type, matching swell patterns, and favorable cloud behavior suggest something is there. In historical records, voyages often began like this, not with certainty, but with cumulative observation. Pacific navigators never relied on luck. They watched, compared, and waited until the signs lined up. As they prepare to launch, the older navigator instructs his lead paddler to double-check the outrigger lashings. These connections are the weakest points during high swell. If one loosens mid-crossing, the entire craft risks flipping. Both canoes depart together. The younger navigator suggests separating routes to cover more distance. The older navigator refuses. In unfamiliar water, cohesion matters more than speed. When new islands were first settled across Polynesia, Micronesia, crews usually traveled in clusters. Multiple canoes meant shared resources, redundancy, and safer returns. Many of the earliest Lapita expansions followed this exact model around 1000 BCE, evidenced by settlement layers found across the Bismarck archipelago and beyond. By late afternoon, wind builds steadily. Small whitecaps begin to form. The main canoe handles it well. The second canoe struggles with steering. Its outrigger sits lower, weighted unevenly. As the older navigator signals to shift cargo. They comply, but too late. Wave slaps hard against the side, dousing the men and soaking the hull's rear quarter. It's not yet dangerous, but it's the first warning. The older navigator looks at the cloud edge again. It has thickened, more vertical build, possible storm. He gives the order to slow paddling and begin prepping for shelter, not landing, but sail retraction and tie down. The ocean here has no shelter. They'll have to ride it out at sea. That night, the wind rises. The storm begins before dawn. The wind rises steadily before dawn. Cloud cover thickens, low and fast-moving. The main canoe is already stripped for storm conditions. The sail is down, tightly wrapped. Lashings have been double-checked. Rain begins mid-morning. Not hard, but cold and steady. The older navigator feels the shift in the swell pattern before anyone speaks. The timing between sets shortens. That's not normal. It means swell from two systems is interacting, likely from opposite directions. He tells the men to shift their seating, lower to the center. The second canoe trails behind, closer than the day before. He watches them struggle. Their sail is still partly raised, and the outrigger is too low in the water. He signals, lower the sail. They do too late. A gust catches their hull broadside. The boat pitches. From this distance, it's hard to read details. But when the next wave strikes, there's no recovery. The hull tips. The outrigger shears off. They capsize. No shouting reaches the main canoe, only hand signals. A man is seen climbing the overturned hull. Two are not. The older navigator makes his decision fast. He orders the main canoe to approach, not for rescue, but assessment. The crew shifts paddling direction immediately. The angle is difficult. The waves are rising now, cross-swelling from the south and east. As they close the distance, they confirm what they feared. One man clings to the overturned canoe, bleeding from the temple. Another is kicking in the water, no visible injury. No sign of the third. He's gone. No time to search. Not in these conditions. They lash the injured man to their hull. The swimmer climbs aboard. There's no talk. The storm is escalating. A full gale now. Rain slants sideways. The navigator calls for trim adjustments and has the men reorient the outrigger weight. He crouches at the steering point and begins counting wave intervals. He's done this before. Hawaiian waters and Micronesian troughs, storms behave. In patterns, count between wave crests. Time the turning. Do not fight every wave. Align. Survive. The capsized canoe is left behind. It is now drift. Its structure won't hold another strike. That canoe is gone. And so is the man. They ride the storm for hours. Navigator stays at the rear, soaked, half submerged. But he never stops steering. The wind pushes harder. One lashing pops, but a crewman ties it back fast. The canoe creaks, but it holds. At some point near dusk, the clouds begin to thin. The rain slows. The wind, though still present, shifts north. That's the back end of the system. They've passed the center. They make it through the night without further damage, but they don't rest. Not properly. No one eats. Only water. Cold and salt tinged. By morning, the sky clears. Not completely, but enough to see the horizon. Navigator spots a faint shape to the south. Land. He doesn't smile. He confirms. Then adjusts the heading. The two men they took aboard say little. One of them shivers constantly. The other stares forward, locked on nothing. They've lost a man, a canoe, and much of their remaining trade supply. This is no longer a search voyage. It is now a test of return. As they approach the coastline, it becomes clear this island wasn't the intended target, but its land. Vegetated with fresh water according to earlier oral reports. Small but stable. It can serve as a temporary shelter. They make landfall in late morning. No signs of inhabitants. The navigator sends two men to scout for water while the rest pull. The canoe above tide. The injured man is placed under a canopy of leaves. His wound is shallow, but the blood loss and cold have weakened him. The scout party finds a stream. Clean, slow-moving. That confirms one of the older rumors from other navigators that this island, though hard to reach, holds fresh water in the rainy season. It's enough to recover. The crew sets camp without discussion. No fires. They lay down bark mats and eat the last of the dried taro. The navigator doesn't rest. He walks the inland edge of the island, scanning for signs of occupation. None. Found that night, they gather under shelter. Sky is cleared. Stars are visible. He traces their position with his eyes. The main directional star for their route home is low on the horizon, visible but distant. He knows they can make it back. But not now. The sea isn't calm enough, and two men are in no condition to paddle. They will stay here until the winds shift and the crew recovers. This island was not the goal, but it's become the pivot. A failed reach. A lost man. Forced landing. Still information gained. He sits alone for a while, holding a length of driftwood found on the beach. Ale. Fine-grained. The same type. He turns it in his hands once, then places it beside the bark mat and sleeps with his back to the sea. Asterisk, the wind drops over the next 2 days. The ocean calms, but the crew remains cautious. They move slowly, limiting noise and unnecessary movement. The injured man regains some strength, though he still bleeds from the ear. The navigator watches closely for signs of deeper injury. If he cannot paddle, he will have to be carried. No one says it, but the decision is building in the background. The navigator uses this time to walk the island's perimeter. It's not large. He measures its shape and layout mentally, checking the slope of the interior, the density of forest, and the flow of the freshwater source. He estimates how long a small group could survive here if supply runs failed. There is enough wood to build shelter, but not enough for long-term tool production. No stone suitable for ADS heads. It's a fallback point useful in emergencies, but not a destination. During one of his walks, he finds a stone structure partially buried in soil. Not large. A flat platform made from dark coral blocks. It's a sacred site. Abandoned. This confirms. The island was once inhabited, possibly a temporary settlement or ceremonial ground. The design resembles platforms used across central Polynesia, a sign of shared religious and architectural practice. Most likely it served as a ritual point tied to seasonal fishing or navigation. He doesn't disturb it in the evenings. He instructs 2 of the younger crew to rehearse the star patterns for their route home. He quizzes them without warning. Which star follows Canopus when heading west? What wind must be avoided when steering under Orion's belt during dry season? They answer correctly. Good enough. As the injured man recovers, the navigator evaluates their supplies. Dried fish nearly gone. Water still available, coconut limited. They can remain for 3 more days before the imbalance becomes dangerous. He notes the return window is opening. The moon is shifting. The tides are becoming more favorable for a westward push. One morning, while checking the beach, the navigator sees a low patch of storm-damaged reef farther offshore. Drifting across it is a familiar object, a fragment. Of the second canoe's outrigger, he pulls it to shore. Rope still attached, but frayed. He inspects the failure point. The lashings used weren't the newer kind. They broke under torsion. He calls over one of the surviving men from the second canoe and points silently to the damaged rope. The man nods. He already knew. That evening, the navigator gathers the crew. They discuss timing. He lays out the star course verbally. We'll travel at night, steering by the low seasonal stars while the wind pushes diagonally from the southeast. This route avoids the same crosswell field that contributed to the earlier capsizing. The men understand. No one resists. Ready to move? Before departure. The navigator carves 3 notches into a driftwood pole and places it upright near the sacred stone platform. He doesn't explain the meaning. In many traditions, marks like this are left to record arrivals, losses, or discoveries. It won't last long in the elements, but long enough to be seen by another if they pass through. They leave under a half-set. Moon, the sea is calm, and the canoe's motion is smooth. The navigator sits forward again, hand on the hull, eyes on the stars. The paddlers work in silence. Midway through the first night, a light swell begins. Not dangerous, just tiring. Rotate paddlers every hour. The injured man remains still, watching the horizon. Will not paddle, but he does not sleep. During a rest period, the navigator speaks briefly to the men. He reminds them that no one finds islands by chance. Every new land discovered was found by watching, remembering, and surviving. What happened to the second? Canoe is part of that process, not a lesson in failure, but a measure of the sea's conditions. This type of debrief is common in early Pacific navigation culture. Lessons from failure were treated as valuable as the charts of success. The oral record of capsized canoes, lost supplies, or drowned voyagers was used to train new generations, and sometimes influenced route planning or seasonal avoidance zones. At dawn, they spot a low line on the horizon, their home island. Paddle harder now. The clouds behind them are thick, storm remnants still moving west. Timing was close but correct. They land before midday. The villagers greet them. No celebration, just quiet relief. The navigator speaks first. He tells them what happened. One dead. One canoe gone. Signs of driftwood and cloud behavior suggest. More land southeast, but not yet confirmed. He shows the fragment of outrigger and the driftwood samples. Describes the stone platform. He names the freshwater stream. These are not poetic accounts. These are data. The elder council listens, then nods. They will meet again after rest. That night, the navigator sits alone near the edge of the village. The canoe is stripped and drying on the sand. The moon is lower now, and the tide is heading out. He watches the water, thinking about what comes next. 3 days after their return, the navigator is summoned to the council hut. Inside are the elders, 3 men who speak little but remember much. He kneels without ceremony and begins reporting. Not just the facts of the storm and the capsized canoe, but the environmental indicators, the shift in swell timing, the green reflection under clouds, the recurrence of driftwood. His tone is flat. It's not persuasion. It's assessment. When he finishes, there is silence. Then one of the elders asks a single question. If you had one more canoe, would you go back? The navigator doesn't answer immediately. Thinks about the injured man still limping along the inland path. Thinks about the drowned body that never surfaced. Then he nods once. Yes, the decision to fund a second attempt is not made quickly. They debate it for a full day. In many early Pacific societies, resources for long voyages were limited and required approval. A voyage meant risk, but also opportunity. If new land was confirmed, it could mean better fishing grounds, untapped resources, or even a fallback in case of famine. The council agrees with conditions. The new canoe will be lighter, better lashed, and guided only by those who returned. From the last attempt, no outside crews. No second in command. For the next 10 days, the navigator oversees construction. The hull is carved from ephalale, a durable hardwood common to the region. The outrigger is cut from breadfruit trunk, lighter and more buoyant. The lashings use the improved fiber, imported from the earlier trade stop. Every step is watched. Nothing is rushed. During this time, the navigator speaks to the families of the dead man. He offers no excuse, only the facts. The storm was survivable. The failure was in the lashing older technique, not reinforced. He shows them the remains of the cord. They nod. They understand. Loss is part of voyaging. But so is improvement. Before departure, the navigator holds a quiet meeting with the crew. Same men. No replacements. They agree to leave 2 hours before first light without announcing the trip to the broader village. Too many eyes mean too many voices. This is not for ceremony. They launch in darkness. The tide is in their favor. The wind low. Stars guide them for the first leg, but cloud cover thickens by mid-morning. The navigator adjusts by swell and wind shear alone. The canoe handles cleanly better than the last one. They pass the previously explored island by midday. No need to land. They continue southeast, on a new heading. This course takes them beyond the known drift zone. No one from their village has traveled this far in generations. By the second night, supplies run low. The navigator had calculated this. They carry concentrated food, high-fat dried eel, wrapped in bark. One of the paddlers is falling behind. He's older than the rest, strong but wearing down. The navigator doesn't comment. The man knows. At dawn, the clouds part. A clear line opens across the horizon, and then land. A dark silhouette, low but solid. Not cloud. Not illusion. They approach slowly. The shoreline is unlike their home flatter, with different vegetation, thicker palm density. No smoke. No movement. They circle once, looking for a safe landing. The navigator spots a break in the reef and signals in. The canoe scrapes slightly but clears. They make landfall. The beach is silent. Shells scattered. Sand darker. Inland, they find a freshwater pool surrounded by stonework, shaped, not natural. Someone lived here. Nearby a structure. Collapsed, but the style is recognizable. Raised on coral slabs, similar to foundations found in older Tongan or Marquesan settlements. Abandoned, at least a generation gone. The navigator kneels near the pool. He picks up a stone tool, dulled, cracked, used and discarded. He does not celebrate. She just calls the crew and says, "It's enough." They camp overnight, leaving markers. As before this time, using shell patterns instead of wood. More resistant to weather, in the morning they leave. The route home is harder. Wind rises again, and a cross current pushes against them. But the canoe holds. They arrive back 6 days after departure. The villagers meet them silently. The navigator walks directly to the council hut. He lays down 3 items: the dull stone tool, a sample of fresh water, and a woven mat made from palm not native to their region. Thottery describes the island, the pool, the collapsed structure. He says only one sentence. There was a people. There may be again. Asterisk, the navigator does not speak for the next 2 days. The council has what it needs: confirmation of land, fresh water, and a structure shaped by human hands. The artifacts are examined in silence. The shell mat is passed. Hand to hand, no one questions the facts. There's nothing left to debate. He spends those 2 days walking the inland paths, not resting, observing, measuring tree growth, erosion, and waterline shifts. When he isn't walking, he's listening to birds, to wind, to the pattern of footsteps from younger men who have started to follow him without asking. They want to know what he knows. Not until it holds, the council calls. A final meeting on the 3rd morning. The navigator stands before them. One elder asks, "Should we send more?" He answers yes, but not yet. The second voyage succeeded because it was careful, not fast. They didn't find a new home. Nada. Full settlement. But they found proof of people, of structure, of water, and drift patterns that repeat. He lays it out cleanly. One more scouting trip before planting tools are carried over. A slow build. No loss of caution. The council agrees. He returns to the canoe shed that night. The new vessel is drying from the salt. Performed well. Better than expected. A younger man approaches him there, hesitates, and asks if he can begin training. The navigator nods. Tomorrow, that's how this continues. One route. One season. One line of knowledge passed from hand to hand. He carves nothing. He writes nothing. The story will move through memory and mouth like all the others. Weeks pass. The injured man from the first voyage walks again, says little but works the shoreline nets with quiet precision. The boy who once asked for training now handles one of the smaller fishing canoes. The navigator watches from a distance. He walks the ridge one last time before the season changes. The wind is softer. Clouds form higher. The driftwood doesn't arrive anymore. The current has shifted. Still, the island is there, waiting. Its shoreline marked, its pool fresh. And when it does, it will be based not on hope, but on what was proven. Stars that aligned, winds that turned, and one canoe that came back.